Like my wife knows to this day, like sundresses are my jam, bro. Like, cause you still get the shape, you still get to see kind of the figure that you could tell, like it's a feminine figure, but it's not overly revealing to where you're just putting everything out there.
What's up, everybody? My name is Mel, and welcome to Life Coaching by Mel. Here at Life Coaching by Mel, we speak truth regarding the nuclear family. And if you're new to the channel, do me a favor, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell so you get each and every one of my videos. Hit that like button for me. Hit me in that comment section. Today is going to be an invigorating conversation that I know you want to contribute to, and be sure to share this with at least one person. Let's get into today's topic. Ladies and gentlemen, today I have a spirited conversation ahead for you. If you heard the show before the show, you'll be very much so looking forward to this conversation. I have three as of now, and possibly another gentleman joining us here in a moment to discuss preference amongst men. How do men prefer to look, or their woman to look? It's going to be an amazing conversation that I'm sure you want to interact with, so be sure to hit us in the comment section with your thoughts. What we're going to do here is go from my left to right, allow these gentlemen to introduce themselves, give a brief introduction of yourself, and share with us the first woman to define beauty for you. We're going to start with Byron. Go ahead, brother.
Yeah. Hello, happy to be here. Thanks for having me. I'm Byron. Let's see, I'm 36 years old, so still somewhat young, I guess. Based out of Dallas, Texas. I'm a father, a husband, and I'm a software engineer by day. So let's see. And so, talking about beauty, who helped shape the definition of beauty for me? So that kind of comes down to two things, right? There's a internal and an external factor there. For me, like the internal piece would be, I'd say like my mom, honestly, right? Like she really showed me about a lot about character and a lot about like depth and things like that, which helps set a standard for what I look for internally. But when it came to external, that was, there was a lot happening in the 90s. Uh, and so for me, I'd say people like, I may get slammed for this. Jada Pickett was one for me way back in the day, man. Like, I don't know if y'all remember 90s Jada Pickett. But, I had a couple of others like Shakira was up there for me too. Right. So just being,
He likes hips.
yeah, exactly. So, but I think they had a soft beauty to them, right? But still represented some strength, but we're also, had a femininity to them that I really liked.
Good stuff, brother. Seiko.
Yeah, my name is Seiko Woods. I am husband, father, pastor. No, not currently pastoring, but pastor the church called His Word His Way, and father of six. I am now doing podcasting at my leisure. The BCB channel you can see there below at the bottom of the screen. 54 years old. Been married to my wife Sharon for 24 years so far. And I would have to say, beauty. When did I first? Where was my first, I guess, experience with a beautiful woman, or in encountering beauty? I would really have to say my wife now of 24 years. My mother, thank God for her, but I've always wanted to have a mother or a woman that I knew would be the kind of woman and mother in my mind for my children to have to be raised by. And so my childhood was not the it was not the ideal family per se. There wasn't any abuse, anything like that. And my mother, loved me and took care of me the best that she could. But that motherly love, I really believe, came through my wife and how she would raise and rear my children. And actually, her mother was the woman that I would actually have to say as well, who showed me what a beautiful woman, and how that is encapsulated and how she treated me. I mean, I wasn't her son, but she treated me like I was her son. And I think one of the things that can be hurtful is when you have favoritism in the family or favoritism in your home, where you have a parent favoring this child over this child, especially when you have it in step parent home. So, but I would have to say my wife Sharon, man, would be what I would consider to be beautiful, and how she carried herself and how she does to this day.
Good stuff, brother Phil.
Well, all these married people. Well, I am still super single out here in these streets. Well, first of all, my age, I'm 38, just turned 38. Single, no kids. You can tell by how happy I am. But I don't think there's any one particular person. I think for me it's changed over time. And granted, it depends on if you're defining beauty by physical or internal, right? So physically speaking, for me, it's always been the natural look, like the classic Halle Berry type look, effortlessly beautiful, where it's not a whole lot of makeup, a whole lot of things done up, to make the person look good. It's just naturally. But yeah, I would say that was what it was, like seeing that natural soft look. But as I've gotten over, it's kind of evolved to more about personality. Somebody who gives me peace is automatically attractive because it's so rare. You know what I'm saying? So, but as far as the topic, the first person, I would say Halle Berry and Sandra Bullock. Interestingly enough, like just effortlessly, naturally beautiful.
Thank you, fine gentlemen, for that answer. Let's move on to our next question. What matters to you regarding a woman's appearance? We're going to start with Seiko on this question.
Number one, of course, how they dress. I mean, dude, I call them Cleveland chicks. I know you from Cleveland. I mean, do I need to go further than that? I could tell you from Cleveland, right? So if the first thing I see is your cleavage, then you're already giving attention to yourself intentionally. So it's how you dress. And then I will also say, when people get upset when you tell them, you're dressing like a thought, well, how do we know what thought attire looks like? Because we've been out here in these streets. We've seen attire that looks hoish. We've seen attire that looks sluttish. We've seen attire that looks like a woman who doesn't really, care about her image or herself, about how she carries herself. So when a person tells me, well, you up here trying to tell me how to dress. Well, not actually, you should have been told how to dress when you was growing up. I'm telling you how you dressing now is not how you're gonna pull a real man does not want a thought for a fiance, let alone a wife. I'm reminded of Proverbs chapter 7, verse 10, where Solomon says he gives a description of a woman by how she dresses. He says that a woman came to this young man, this naive young man, he says, dressed as a harlot. I mean, whatever that culture was, he knew that this is not what a holy woman wears or a modest woman wears. This is what a whorish or a thottish woman wears. So it starts in their attire. It starts there. We are visual people. We're visual creatures. Men are visual. So we're gonna look at how a woman dresses. If the cleavage is showing, or you can see her underwear, you can see pretty much the crease and her crotch. You can see all of that. So you're giving attention to yourself by how you dress. So why we playing and acting as though those things are not telltale signs of a woman who wants attention, probably because she didn't get it at home.
Good stuff, Phil.
Well, I'll take it from the other side. I see what Seiko's point is. For me, I'm more of a character person, right? I feel like every woman wants attention. That's a fact. Like it's like food, water, attention. I think Chris Rock said that before, right? So they need attention. Now, Sue, in terms of how they dress, for me, what matters, I mean, I don't want you overly ratchetly where there's underwear showing like to that extreme. But if a person is showing cleavage, that doesn't bother me because for some women that makes them feel, it's like, for example, I'll use me for example, right? I have a lot of fitted outfits. Like I work out, so I'm going to wear a t-shirt. I'm going to wear a fitted t-shirt. My suits are fitted. I want it to fit a certain way. I may wear a dress shirt with my buttons, top 3 buttons open, something to that effect. It makes me, it shows that I work out. It makes me feel confident. I love it. It's not necessarily indicative of my character as a person. Like I remember when I was younger, back in late 90s, early 2000s, the hip hop outfits, you with the do rag, with the hats and the FUBU, and the baggy outfits, and a lot of people judge me based on just the outfit. And I've never been arrested, no criminal record, none of that. And people just assume based on the outfit that I was, a typical, lawbreaker or whatever. But once they got to know me, then it's like completely surprised. So for me, when I look at a chick, I don't judge her based on the outfit. I look at her character, because she could wear even something depending on the environment. Number one, does the outfit fit the environment? If we're out in maybe a setting where she's single, she wants to meet men, and she wears something a little bit more tight fitting, I can understand the reason why. Now, is there substance when she starts speaking what matters? Because I've met girls that cover up because they're insecure and they are loose, covered up. Like they're not dressing sexually, they're completely covered up, but they are out here. You know what I mean? So for me, it's not so much the outfit. I want to see the substance and her character, and then I can see past the outfit. But that's just me.
Now, I feel rebuttals in the atmosphere, but we're going to move on to Byron first, and then we open up the floor for rebuttal. Go ahead, Byron.
Yeah. So for me, I appreciate authenticity in a woman. So, dress how you dress. But I also value like grace and beauty and confidence. You know what I'm saying? So like, if you can pull it off, wear, you know what I'm saying? But I think it is a combination of things, right? Like the question here was, what matters from a physical appearance standpoint. And I do think for me, it's having a bit of modesty, but you can still be revealing with that. Like my wife knows to this day, like sundresses are my jam, bro. Like you still get the shape, you still get to see kind of the figure that you could tell, like, it's a feminine figure, but it's not overly revealing to where you're just putting everything out there either, So yeah, but she'll tell you straight up. If you can ask her right now, she'll tell you. Sundress all day.
I love it. So anyone have any response to anyone's statement?
Yeah, I would agree with both of these men in the context of what they're talking about. But I think as well, when we talk about how a woman dresses, you would not want your wife or the mother of your children to carry herself in a way that would not reflect you, would you?
Well, it depends on how you look at that too, though. Because how does her dressing reflect you, in your opinion?
Yeah, because as her husband, she reflects me as her head. She reflects me. Matter of fact, I reflect my family by how I carry myself. So, for like case in point, I don't know if y'all sag. Are y'all saggers?
Of pants, you mean?
Yeah.
Not really, no.
Why not?
For me, it's uncomfortable. Number one, and I don't like the look. That's just for me.
Don't like the look. What? So, would you have a problem with a man showing their drawers?
I'll have a man if it's showing drawers, yeah, just because the drawers show. I don't have a problem with them sagging if you can still walk with it, but showing the drawers in general for anybody, I don't like. Man or woman.
Okay, so as a man, we know that gives off a different type of vibe or signal, right?
Right.
As inappropriate, like, bro, are you flaming? I mean, which one are you, hot?
Right.
Which one are you? You know what I'm saying? So if it's true for us as men, that's kind of like an unwritten, unspoken code on how we carry ourselves. And if we can say that for us, would we say that's a bad representation for us if we as men or as fathers or as whatever, or even as older men? Would that be a good look for us to carry ourselves for those who are looking at us as examples?
Makes sense. But let me ask you this though: when somebody could rebuttal and say, "Well, why are they judging her based on the outfit, not the content of her character?" What would you say to that?
I would say because that's what we do. Here's the reason why I'm saying that: because how I dress reveals what's in my heart.
I think there's.
Let me give you an example. Let's go back to the sagging. Let's go back to the sagging. We all three of us on this podcast as men, with the exception of the host, we agree that if you saw me walk around sagging, showing my drawers, that would be a problem. But what if I'm a respectable man, but I'm sagging?
Honestly, it's not a problem for me.
Right.
It's not a problem for me.
What's that?
It's not a problem for me if you're sagging because it doesn't really impact my life.
So yeah, I'm not talking about impacting the life. I'm just saying.
So,
would you walk around what showing your drawers?
I wouldn't, but if you were, I wouldn't have a problem with it.
Why? Okay, so as black men, as men, you don't think that reflects a culture or reflects us as a people? I mean, have you seen pictures of black couples and black people in the 40s, in the 50s, how they dress and how they carry themselves?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
With style, with class, with elegance, with grace, right?
Who defined that though?
I'm sorry?
Who defined that?
Who defines what? Class?
Yeah.
Culture. We do. There's a culture, then there's a subculture. So okay, you said sundresses, right? You like your wife you like your wife to wear sundresses. So do I. Right? Not your wife, it's my mind. Not yours, it's my mind, right? So what if my wife wore her sundress and she was swinging and twirling in the air? I mean, just when she walk in or whatever, and her sundress is just flowing upward. Would that be appropriate, or would that be inappropriate?
Are you saying revealing what's under the dress, or are you saying like she's just out?
I mean, why not? Because you're talking about culture. Who determines what class and what grace, all those things are?
Well, I asked that question first because a lot of us are a product of our environment to a degree, right? So there are many cultures that exist in the United States. And so what can be considered a norm in one neighborhood may not be considered a norm in another neighborhood. And so it can become an issue if you start to make assumptions about a person's character based on how they're dressed, because you're in a different neighborhood essentially.
So give me an example where if we are in a culture or in an environment, case in point. Let's just say all of us have been familiar with the courtroom scene, whether you are a plaintiff or you're a defendant, right? Do we determine our attire when we go to that courtroom, or is that attire determined before we get to the courtroom?
You actually have the freedom to determine your own attire. I've seen people go to court and what the court wouldn't consider appropriate attire, but the thing there is that the court actually sets a standard for the courtroom.
You just made my point. The court sets the standard
for the courtroom. Yes.
Right. So if I'm going to court and I'm a defendant, matter of fact, we all know this because of the lawyer. If we have a lawyer representing us, they're gonna tell us, hey. They're gonna tell us about this judge. They're gonna tell us about, man, bro, if you gotta find a suit, if you gotta borrow a suit, because what you are representing now is gonna either make or either break your case, depending on the severity of course, right? But if I'm walking in there, a case in point, if I'm walking in there sagging, and I'm a defendant, and I know I got charges against me, and I carry myself as though I'm in these streets, what does that say? What does that communicate? Not only to those that are my family and those that are there for me, but also to the court, to the office of the court, to the people that now I got to stand before.
You're opening a door here, because I'm going to ask even deeper then. What does it convey for you to dress up in a way that you don't normally dress up to make an appearance at a court? Because then you're trying to sell a story that isn't you.
No, I'm trying to respect the rules of that. Like you said, the standard. If the standard is this, and I'm required to meet that standard, and I need to meet that standard to the best of my ability, or I need to have a reason why I did not meet that standard. Mr. Woods, you did not come in here in courtroom attire. Why is that? Well, Your Honor, I was talking to Byron and Dr. Phil, on this podcast last week, and they told me, hey man, I'm doing me.
But the thing is that the courtroom's a little different because there is an actual factual standard, right? But in real life, there really isn't. So it becomes subjective. So back to the original topic, if you're saying that, well, how the woman dresses reflects on me, well, if you know her character, and if people don't decide to just look, okay, she's wearing a dress with cleavage, she must be a hoe. Well, that's on the people judging her, because she could be wearing that because the outfit looks good on her. You know what I'm saying? Like I was saying earlier, when I was younger, I wore the saggy outfits. My Timbs would match the top. The shirt, I had the earrings on. I had the pinky ring, all that. But was completely a good guy, very good guy. And I knew I was being judged for it, but I wore it because I liked that. So to your point earlier, reflects the heart. My heart was very pure and very clean. but it was the culture. It's what you saw as a young person, the hip hop videos and whatever, and that's how your friends dress. But it doesn't necessarily determine or define a person because of what's on the outside. I think even the Bible talks about that. So I think if people are judging you strictly based on the outfit, that's a problem with the society, the people judging you. Now, granted, you can look at it in context in different ways. By the end of the day, you definitely can't judge a person just based on the outside because that is so superficial. It's not a fact.
Well, to your point, when you mentioned about the scripture, I decided to you Proverbs chapter 7, verse 10. What would be your response to that? Because that's what part.
When it says the word harlot was context. When it says harlot, what were the harlots wearing back then?
That's the point. It was a culture. Whatever they were wearing, it was harlot attire. So it wasn't attire of a woman of respect. Matter of fact,
well, somebody could then say that if you're wearing cleavage, it's not harlot attire because if you walk down what's the street in California where you see that they wearing is basically like bikinis, is way different. So a chick would say, well, cleavage is not harlot attire because she's covered more than a harlot's dresses, so it becomes subjective.
But we're talking about appearance. So what would be appropriate for a woman exposing her breast or her cleavage in public?
What do you mean? What would be appropriate? Explain what you mean. Are you saying is it appropriate, or what are you saying exactly?
Is it appropriate? Do you believe it's appropriate for a woman to show her cleavage, intentionally show her cleavage? I'm not talking about where I'm talking, she's intentionally showing her cleavage in public. Where would you see that would be an appropriate?
I think if she's in public, as in not like let's say in church or somewhere like obviously job interview places like that, just in public, other than places that have a standard outfit, I don't have a problem with it.
Okay, so why would church? And what other environment you said? I'm sorry.
Church or maybe a job interview because there's a standard for outfits in those kind of places.
Okay, so why would that be the exception that she?
Because there's established standard in those places usually.
Okay, so who sets that standard? Could that be
for
Byron's point?
Who sets the standard of work? Well, usually it's basically, for example, if it's a job interview, usually they will tell you got to have, like for a guy, you got to wear business casual, or tie, whatever, depending on the job it is. So usually the employer will set that standard. In church, it's more about the, how can I word it? It's like in church, it's the people, the distraction it causes with people in church because they're there for God, they're there for worship. So if it can cause distraction in a place where they're supposed to be focused on God, that's a different concept.
So is godliness something that we just do on Sunday or Wednesday or Tuesday night?
That's a whole different conversation then. That's a whole different conversation.
You brought the church up, so I'm just asking. So
right.
So is godliness also based on how we dress?
Well, see, I'm talking about distraction in terms of the outfit. So godliness can be looked at in little different ways. Cussing, you can say it's not God. You shouldn't cuss at all. You know what I mean? There's a lot of different things you can argue. But I'm saying in places where there is a standard set, then that's different. But other than that, what you wear, like for example, my T-shirt right now, a fitted T-shirt, I would never wear it to church. It's not even wrong to wear it. Personally, I wouldn't wear it. You know what I'm saying? So like, just becomes an individual conviction.
Yeah. So I got you on the preference part, but you're not showing or exposing anything. It should be exposed. So when we talk about a woman's appearance, or what is, I guess you could say, presentable or immodest or inappropriate, yeah, I understand that context matters. I wouldn't expect if you're in the privacy of your own home, or if you're in a place where men shouldn't be, then I'm not going to trip about that. I'm talking about where women are intentionally drawing attention to themselves by how they dress. That's
right, and which they do all the time. So let me ask you this question though. So you're married, right? So if your wife had this beautiful wedding dress that shows cleavage and she loves it, makes her feel confident, looks good on her, wants to wear, what would be your response to that?
Nope. Because it ain't.
So there's no discussion. You're shutting it down, is what you're saying.
Absolutely.
Hey, what's up, everybody? My name is Mel. Thank you for joining my channel. Thank you for checking things out here. Oftentimes we go on people's pages and are like, man, what is going on here? What is the purpose of this channel? So let me be clear. The purpose of this channel is to speak truth regarding the nuclear family. And when I say truth, I'm not saying my truth, not your truth, but the Lord's truth. All about the word, all about the ways and the will of God. What does he have to say about the nuclear family? And I believe the generations of today, whether it be Gen X, millennials, Gen Z, Gen Y, whatever the case may be, I believe now we have a very toxic relationship regarding marriage, regarding family, regarding having children. We're in a toxic dynamic as we speak. And honestly speaking, a lot of the answers that we're looking for in our community, a lot of the cures and a lot of the answers would come from a proper, fulfilled family home. If you go down the line of everyone's individual trauma, there you will find some negligence or some type of issue that they had with their parents. So here on this channel, we address those things head on. We don't place fear in those issues and avoid the topic. We do what Jesus did. And when he said, don't assume that I came for peace, but I came with a sword. I came to turn family members against family members if it means you following me. If you have to cut them off, if you have to address them and have arguments for you to follow me, so be it. And I think at this point in our society, we're at the so be it stage. So here at Life Coaching by Mel, I'm all about bringing healing to that. And the number one way to do that is have honest conversations. So if that's something you like, that's something you're into, that's something you really want to be a part of, be sure to hit that subscribe button. Be sure to comment. Let me know what you think about everything. I do my best to respond as often as I can. I want to hear from you guys. This is not about me. It's about healing our nation, healing our states, healing our cities, healing our community, healing our homes. Love you guys. Take care.
Let's go.